Welcome everyone to the solutions manual for our geometry lesson in logical statements. Let's take a look at the solutions for our do now. Our do now asks the following question. Let's go ahead and read it. Let P represent it is cold and let Q represent it is snowing. Which expression can be used to represent it is cold and it is not snowing? Alright, so let's do what the problem says. We're going to go ahead and let P represent it is cold. So on the left hand side here, I'm going to write P is equal to it is cold. On the other hand, we have another variable, Q. We're going to say that Q means it is snowing. Okay, great. Now we want to know which of the following four expressions can be used to represent it is cold and it is not snowing. Well, let's take a look at this step by step. First, we want to know how to say it is cold. It is cold is just statement P. So we can just put down P for it is cold. In fact, let me write down the statement we want. The statement we want is it is cold and it is not snowing. And it is not snowing. It is not snowing. Hopefully I can fit that in. Okay, well, let's think first about how to express it is cold. How do we say it is cold? Well, we know how to say it in English, but we gotta know how to say it in math, right? How to say it is cold? Well, you say it using P, right? That's what you have right there. So, it is cold is just another way to say statement P. So I'm going to rewrite it is cold as P. Hopefully you can see that. Let me make that with a different color, maybe orange. How about the connector? The connecting word here is and. How do you write and in a mathematical way? Well, you can use this operator, and that means and. The final part we want to express is this one. I'm going to highlight it in green. It is not snowing. How do you say it is not snowing? Well, we know how to say it is snowing, right? That's just Q. To say it is not snowing, we have to negate Q, right? So that's how you say it is not snowing. So the final way to say it is cold, which is P, and it is not snowing is P and the negation of Q. And which option is that? Well, that's going to be choice 2. Okay, let's move on to the second question. Now we move on to question number 9. What does question number 9 ask us? It says, each part that follows consists of a set of 3 sentences. And I can zoom that in for you. The truth values of the first 2 sentences are given. Determine the truth value of the third sentence. So for example, we have the truth values for sentence A, which is true, and sentence B, which is false. We got to find out the truth value of our last sentence. So first of all, do you remember what a truth value is? A truth value just says if a statement is true or false. For example, the truth value of the sky is blue is true. The truth value of the grass is yellow is false because grass is green. So let's try to do the first one. The first question, or the first part of the question says, it rains or it is cold, and that is true. It is cold, that is false. It rains, is that true or false? Okay, so how are we going to do this? Well, I have an idea. Here's my idea. It rains, okay, or it is cold. We're going to use our truth table here. That's going to come in very handy. So let's draw our truth table to the right of this, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and draw our truth table right here in black. So remember, the truth table for and is going to be what? P, Q, P, and Q. So how's that going to look like? Remember, and is a conjunction or is a, so let's do the truth table for and. So if P and Q is both true, then P and Q is true. If P is true but Q is false, well then P and Q is false. If P is false but Q is true, well again the whole thing's false. And if both of them are false, well then that's a double bad. Right? That's that means the whole thing is false. And if you want to know the reasoning behind this, you can watch the flipped classroom video. Okay, so great. Let's now understand what we have here. Are we using the connector and here? No, we're using the connector or. So we also have to make the truth table for or. So let's do that. I'm going to come over here to the right, and we're going to make the truth table for or. So the truth table for or will look something like this. P, Q, and of course P or Q. So let's do it step by step. If P and Q are both true, then of course P or Q is true. If P is true but Q is false, then P or Q will be true. If P is false but Q is true, well then the whole thing is true, because this is or. It's a little bit more nicer. And if both of them are false, well then of course P or Q will be false. Okay, great. So now let's use this knowledge, this truth table, to help us answer question number 9. Question number 9 says what? Well, it says it rains or it is cold. That's true. Okay, so we're looking at or, and we're seeing that the or statement is true. Okay, and we see that it is cold is false. So this part of our statement is false, but the whole thing is true. So which column in the, which row in the truth table looks like that, right? So here you can see what? You can see that the second part of our statement is false, just like here it's false, but the whole thing is true. So that means the first part of our statement also has to be true. Okay, great. Now let's take a look at our second example, second part of question 9. So the second part of question 9 says the month is June and it is not warm. Okay, so that is false. The month is June, that is true, and it is warm. We have to find out the truth value. So here's the deal. When you see the word and you see that it's false, that means both, that means one of two things, right? That means either this one is false, or the whole, or both of the statements are false. Both of the parts of the statement are false. But we know that this statement is true. The month is June. That statement is indeed true. Okay, so let me go ahead and zoom in over here. What I'm saying is that the whole statement is false, right? And we know that this part of the statement is true. That means for the whole thing to be false, but the first part to be true, the other part has to be false. It is not warm is false. So if it is not warm is false, it is warm must be true. See how we do it? That's pretty cool. Let's see. Let's try to flex our logical thinking muscles with the next one. I will study or I will not pass the test. That is true. So notice the connecting word here is or. Okay, so keep that in mind. I will not study. I don't know what the truth value of that is. I will pass the test. The truth value of that is true. Notice I will pass the test has a truth value of true. So I will not pass the test must be false, right? The negation has the opposite truth value. Now, since this is or and this one is false, but the whole statement is true, I will study must be true. So I will not study, the negation of I will study must be false. And so we have false for part C. Moving on to part D. I will not work at camp this summer, or I will attend summer school. That's false. I will work at camp this summer. That's true. So we know I will work at camp this summer is true. So I will not work at camp this summer must be false. Great. That means the other part of the statement must also be false for the whole thing to be false. So I will attend summer school must be false. So its negation, I will not attend summer school, must be true. Our final question, let's read it. Let me see what it is. So the month is not January and it is not snowing. We don't know the truth value. The month is January. We know the truth value is true. So the month is January is true. So the month is not January. Well, that's the negation, so it must be false. Right? The negation always has the opposite truth value. The month is January is true, so the month is not January must be false. It is not snowing is true. And so this part is true. And we have an and connector. So a false and a true, that makes a false. And so we've completed question number 9. Okay, moving on. If P and the negation of Q is true, then which is true? Okay, so let's get this down straight. Well, let's translate this complex mathematical language into English language. So if P and that weird symbol, let's break it down. So what does this all mean? This means if P and the negation of Q is true. So immediately, what's the key word? The key word is and. When you see the word and, that means both statements must be true. Okay, that means P must be true and the negation of Q must have a truth value of true. So if the negation of Q is true, then Q itself must be false, right? Because of course the negation always has the opposite truth value. So P must be true and Q must be false. So let's see which statement says that. P must be true and Q must be false. That's choice 3. Okay. Our final question, let's read it. Let X represent Mr. Ladd teaches mathematics, and let Y represent Mr. Ladd is the football coach. Write in symbolic form. Mr. Ladd does not teach mathematics, and Mr. Ladd is the football coach. Okay, so let's break this down. I'm going to highlight the first part. Let X represent this. So X is equal to Mr. Ladd teaches mathematics, or I'll just write math. And what's the second part we have? Let's read it. And let Y represents Mr. Ladd is the football coach. So Y is equal to Mr. Ladd is football coach. We want to write the following sentence in symbolic form. Mr. Ladd, oh, that's the same color, so let's mix it up. Mr. Ladd does not teach mathematics, and Mr. Ladd is the football coach. So, Mr. Ladd, let's write it down right here. Mr. Ladd does not teach mathematics, does not teach math. And he's the football coach. So let's zoom out here and let me give myself some space. And he's football coach. Football coaches make big bucks, so this guy is probably rich. Okay. So Mr. Ladd does not teach math. How do we say that? Well, we know how to say Mr. Ladd does teach math, right? Mr. Ladd teaches math, well, that's just X. So the negation of that, do you see the word? Does not teach math. The negation of Mr. Ladd teaches math is just the negation of X. And, how do you represent and? Well, you use this operator, right? And he's the football coach. He's the football coach. Well, how do you say he's the football coach? What letter do you use to express that? Well, you can say Mr. Ladd is the football coach by using this letter, the letter Y. And so, the final way we can express our statement is simply the negation of X and Y. And hence, we are done with our solution manual. And let me zoom out for total clarity. You can take a picture of this, and it's also available on the website for further help. Thank you, and good luck.